So then, let's get started. How some plants may use quantum mechanics. The story starts in April 2007, where a group of MIT physicists were sharing science articles they'd found that week. One of the articles was suggesting that plants were mini quantum computers. The group exploded into laughter. The world's brightest minds had been trying to create a quantum computer for decades, and now it was being suggested that some dumb plant had outsmarted them. But as we'll soon see, they were foolish to laugh. First, let's talk about why someone would even make that claim. Plants as quantum computers, it does sound a bit far-fetched. Well, to understand this, we first need to understand a very old puzzle in biology. Why is photosynthesis so efficient? Pat can explain this much better than I can, so I'm gonna let him handle it.
Life on Earth is only possible because of photosynthesis. You've heard of this phenomenon before. It's the synthesis of energy out of light, or photons. Trees do it, green algae do it, all kinds of plants do it all the time to produce over 15,000 tons of biomass every second. And even on such a big scale, photosynthesis comes down to just a chemical reaction. A plant or green algae takes carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight and turns those ingredients into sugar, oxygen, and usable energy for the organism itself. Sunlight, along with the whole process of photosynthesis, happens in an organelle within plant cells called chloroplasts. Inside the chloroplast are stacks of discs called thylakoids that are filled with little green pigments called chlorophyll. To understand how sunlight goes from a photon to usable energy, we need a little background on the chemistry of chlorophyll. These molecules have a long carbon and oxygen backbone, with a big grid of carbon and nitrogen surrounding a lone magnesium atom. This makes it so magnesium has a single electron in its outermost layer that's just barely hanging in there. So when a photon comes into the thylakoid, its energy knocks that electron off the magnesium. Here's where things get a little abstract. Usually we'd think of that magnesium ion, as a whole, as positively charged. It just lost an electron. But for all this to make sense, we need to reframe it a little bit. Think of it more like a neutral magnesium, a negative electron, and a positively charged hole where the electron used to be. This is called an exciton, and it can store energy. Those negative and positive poles make it work like a battery. But in order to make energy out of sunlight, the plant needs to get that exciton to a reaction center for a process called charge separation. This involves taking the electron from magnesium and transferring it to some nearby molecule so it can create a stable molecule. From there, the chemical process of photosynthesis can happen. But transferring that exciton is the hard part. Chloroplasts can transfer energy from chlorophyll to chlorophyll until it gets to a reaction center, but that might be really far away. Plus, chlorophyll are packed together super densely, so how does the exciton know which way to go? For years, we thought it randomly stepped from molecule to molecule until it landed at a reaction center, but if that were the case, the excitons were more likely to get lost than to perform photosynthesis. And that was kind of a problem, because in the real world, photosynthesis happens with nearly 100% efficiency. Almost 0 electrons ever get lost. That's more efficient than any human technology we've ever come up with.